Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's weather forecast for the southern region, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, what we're watching here is an animation from our GOES 17 satellite, and after last week, which saw some pretty nasty severe weather across the southern region, starting off in New Mexico and Texas, going into Oklahoma, and eventually over to the lower Mississippi River Valley and the southeast, we saw a lot of severe weather, we saw a lot of hail, we saw some isolated tornadoes, and some wind damage. Well, now all of our attention turns back to the west coast. You can see the deep coastal low that's pushing there onto the west coast, and because of the cutoff flow of this particular low, due to the fact that the jet stream is blocked up over Alaska all the way down to California, we're going to have a relatively quiet week across the southern region until that system you see there spinning off the west coast finally moves across the central United States by the end of this week and the weekend. So we're going to start off April with a bang here because of this system still spinning off the west coast. So with that as a setup, let's kind of diagnose the flow pattern of the atmosphere. That block you see is right here. This high over low, see it? The high is there and the low, and that pattern doesn't tend to move very quickly. So this trough you see is going to be bothering the west for a while before it finally ejects at the end of this week into the central plains. We are still dealing with some cooler weather and some unsettled weather to start off our Tuesday here across the southeast, but a ridge is building into the middle part of the country. We're going to see a pretty sizable warm up because of that. But this pattern will unlock itself here in a little bit, and because of that, we're expecting to see some cooler conditions moving in. We're going to talk about that here in a few moments. So let's kind of diagnose this pattern and figure it out. I took you all the way to Thursday because there's really not a whole lot going on until then. By the time we get into Thursday afternoon and evening, right about here, watch this. See the trough sitting off the west coast? Well, a wave breaks over parts of Alaska, comes down into that deeper trough of the Hudson, and the trough on the west coast comes right into the central plains by the time I get into Friday evening. Now, this is going to be a pretty interesting system as it gets right here into the middle part of the country because it's going to initiate a low pressure system that will be dragging a front all the way from Texas getting to the east coast. And it will be along that front where we're going to see quite a bit of precipitation and also going to be seeing the threat for some severe weather. So that moves through Saturday into Sunday. Now, this is where I start to get concerned about our temperatures. We've had, really since the beginning of February, on the whole, warmer than average. Yeah, there's been a few cool bouts in there, but been warmer than average. Well, we see this elongated trough feature sitting right in through here that comes through by the time we get into Sunday. This will be the very end of March and the beginning of April. And that's going to be bringing into the southeast quite a bit of cooler weather here until this pattern breaks once we get out of the first week of April. So you see it's sitting around there Sunday and Monday into Tuesday as well. But things are changing. Look at this. This is the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And we get ourselves into a pattern with a screaming Pacific jet building into a ridge over the southeast. And that signifies to me that we may be getting into, once we get into the first full week of April, really the end of it, going back over to a warmer pattern, but potentially quite volatile pattern in terms of a severe weather threat. So this is a very interesting look here from the European model progressing forward. Let's take a look at the timing of that precipitation. Early on Tuesday morning, it's just some coastal showers here in parts of the Carolinas. You're going to see as soon as I click play here that all the actions on the west coast as high pressure dominates, really dominates much of the southern region here. Yes, over parts of Florida, we're still dealing with this little disturbance that's moving through there, possibly bringing some widespread showers to Florida. But overall, look, I'm all the way out to Thursday here. This is Thursday morning. We see high pressure is in control, keeping things relatively dry. It's only going to be along the trailing front of this system that's going through parts of eastern Canada that maybe in the northern part of the southern region we could get some showers by the time we get into Wednesday. But the real show is going to happen once we get this coastal low onto the coast. And there it goes. And now it's moved really quickly. I mean, it goes fast right across the mountains throughout the day on Friday, such that by early Friday morning into midday Friday, it's taking shape in the central plains. Now, at this point, this is where we're going to have to start watching this one carefully. Once we get into Friday into Saturday, it's where that front, how far south does it build and how quickly does it move across the United States? How much moisture does it bring out ahead of it? Well, we're considering right now quite a bit. And as a consequence, you're going to see, I'll just leave those drawings on there, you're going to see that front progress. See it there? Through the lower Mississippi River Valley over into the southeast. Now behind it, big high pressure and cooler weather, but that front you just saw progress just like this. And as it does so, it's going to bring with it the threat for some stronger storms and also potentially some severe weather, but quite a bit of heavy rain as these storms move through. But now, let's talk about those temperatures. On the back side of this, a large area of high pressure moves in. This high pressure system was complements of Canada. So as that one slid down, that's going to be bringing in some cooler temperatures as we get through the first couple of days here of April. So we're looking at a cool start to the beginning of April. Now, this is getting pretty far out in the forecast, but I am watching carefully as that front sags all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico for the potential for a low pressure system to kind of show up here and skirt across parts of Florida sometime around April 2nd, 3rd, 4th. There's a lot of uncertainty. We're pretty far out in the model run here, but we're going to watch it carefully. It's really going to be a Florida event, if anything, in terms of bringing in some heavy precipitation as we get into that first week. So really, it's just going to be this big system that comes in March 30th, 31st, and 2nd, 1st and 2nd of April that we're going to watch most carefully here. So if we put it all together, what do we see here? Getting you all the way to next Tuesday morning. This is 6 a.m. on April 2nd. We see that this region right in through here where that front really gets going will likely be the area that picks up the most precipitation as the front drags through. We're talking here between 3/4 of an inch to some locations getting over an inch. Now, we've been very wet. We've talked about that a lot in these forecast videos into this area. And so this is bringing precipitation there. Get over back into Missouri, parts of northern Oklahoma, and parts of Arkansas. We will be seeing some precip as the front lingers in this area before this system gets going. But as it progresses off to the southeast, widely scattered showers and thunderstorms are going to be the main thing here. Because this system doesn't fully take shape until it gets into the central plains, overall, we are seeing parts of Texas staying relatively dry out of this, but I'll have to keep a close eye on this system. And when we give you our Thursday morning updates and our Friday updates, we'll have a better idea if any of this precipitation gets a little bit back further to the west. Now, what I want to really get into is what are temperatures doing, okay? We're certainly starting off Tuesday with a cool bias across much of the southeast. But as we play things forward, you see that cool bias hangs around it's just 5 to 10 degrees cooler than average as we progress through Wednesday. Now, out ahead of this next system, look at the warm-up starting here in Texas. And that warm-up really gets going by the time we get into Friday. And out ahead of this, we're going to see a pretty big wave of warmer air. Again, this is getting into the weekend. So the start of the weekend is going to be decent across the southeast, but look at the colder air coming behind that front that's sweeping right in through here. We see temperature anomalies in the 10 to 20 degree range. Now, this is just Saturday at noon. As I progress into Sunday morning, that colder air is now progressing all through Texas, getting through the lower Mississippi River Valley and over toward the southeast. And we could be seeing some pretty cold temperatures compared to average. These are anomalies, remember. This is not true temperatures here. This is anomalies, differences from normal. We could be anywhere between 15 and 20 degrees cooler than average as we start off April. So, I know March is supposed to go out like out like a lamb, but it's going out like a lion with some pretty cold temperatures coming in on the back side of this. Now, the bigger question is, are we getting cold enough to really bring in the threat of frost as we start our new month? So I'm going to show you 3 maps. This one's valid for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. We're looking at the probability here of getting a temperature below freezing. Now we can see that on Sunday, that probability, at least the greatest probability, really hangs out north of this line. So yeah, parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Texas, this region may get it. Once we get into Monday, we can see that that colder air progresses much further to the south. And so we can see here that maybe northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, northern Georgia, or the higher elevations in those areas, especially where the Appalachian Mountains come down, we could get a freezing temperature. The probabilities are much, much lower farther to the south, suggesting that the freezing temperatures stay away from the extremely sensitive vegetation this time of year that is sitting over the Gulf Coast states. And then by the time we get into Tuesday, this is really an Appalachian Mountain feature where we're keeping that cooler air. Now, we will see colder temperatures. temperatures all across the southern region, but not cold enough, I think, to get us down into that frost territory at this point. Again, we're going to watch this very carefully in my Friday update to see how much the forecast models have changed on this. So something important to watch here. But I'll finish up by showing you these last two things here. Looking at next week, so week 2, we see the Pacific jet stream gets quite strong. That takes aim on the northwest. At the same time that happens, that tends to give us a more favorable subtropical jet as well. So we're going to keep this area across the southern region, a lot of it quite stormy and quite wet. In fact, I think that's going to be the name of the game throughout much of April and May. And just as a quick preview of what I'll be talking about in my long-range forecast that comes out on Wednesday, check this out. This is April 15th. I see a couple of important things. One, this trough here, sitting over this ridge, strong flow coming from Japan, across the Central Pacific. The European model, brand new model run here, suggests we go into a split flow pattern across the west and a ridge over the southeast. Now, yeah, that's warm, but that pattern right there says look out for the potential for strong to severe storms being quite regular across the central United States, across Texas, getting all the way over to the southeast. So we'll talk more about it in the long-range update tomorrow, but with that, I'm going to wrap up this forecast video. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions thank you for your attention and hope you look forward to our next Southern Region forecast that will be coming out on Friday morning. In the meantime, I hope you all have a great week, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Thank you.